Welcome back, chapter 27. Dana forehead wrinkled. Why did she always imagine she heard a ringing phone whenever she vacuumed? Sometimes she stopped to shut off the vacuum as many as 2 to 3 times to investigate. She told herself she had merely imagined the sound and continued moving the vacuum back and forth. But the sensation persisted and she finally shut off the motor just in time to hear the tail end of ringing. She jumped onto the bed and reached for the receiver on the nightstand. Hello? Hello, Dana. Irene. Holy crap. Dana's shoulders grew rigid. I bet she knows. Hi, Irene, she said, forcing herself to sound natural. What's up? Vanessa is down in Miami with her grandparents, and she thinks she might have left her jean skirt at your house. Uh-oh. She really wants to wear it while she's there. I know Brittany is away too, but I was hoping that maybe you've seen it. Dana's body immediately relaxed. Yes, I sure did. It was in the wash and I knew it wasn't Brit's. It's all ironed and folded. Oh, good. I hope she hadn't lost it. I was about to run some errands. Would I be able to come by and pick it up? I promised I'd mail it to her. Yes, I'll be here. What a way to get in there, right? Here it is, all ready to wear, Dana said to Irene 20 minutes later as she handed her a plastic supermarket bag containing Vanessa's skirt. They stood just inside Dana's front door. Thanks so much, Dana, Irene smiled. I guess you miss Brittany as much as I miss Vanessa. I really do. Have you been enjoying your summer? Oh, yes. Vanessa and I went up to New Jersey to visit my family. I got one of the special deals where you drive a rental car up and leave it there. It only costs $15 a day to rent a Ford Taurus. I could have gotten away with $10 if I wanted to rent something smaller. We used the car while we were there, and then we dropped it off and took the train back. They're trying to move their fleet back up north for the fall. By the holidays, they'll be offering the same deal for one-way drop-off in Florida and other warmer climates. Usually, you can't get those rates this late in the year, so I consider myself lucky. Irene smiled and patted the skirt. Thanks a lot, Dana. I'll get this off to Vanessa right away. You're very welcome. I'm glad I could help. Dana hadn't seen Irene since before Brittany had left for Nassau. She seemed so friendly and warm. An impulse hit Dana like a bolt of lightning, and she acted on it before thinking it through. Irene, do you have a minute? There's something I'd like to talk about with you. Dana. Irene nodded and followed Dana into the living room where they took seats. Do you have another special date? Irene asked with a smile. How Irene knows she got a date? No, it's something else. Oh, yeah, that's right. She asked her about the dress. I was going to say. I've been wanting to talk to you for a couple of weeks now, Dana began. Really? What about? Irene sounded more curious than anything else. Well, I'm not sure where to begin. It's about Gil. Oh. Irene's tone had become a tad chilly, and Dana considered that she might have made a mistake in thinking she could share the confidence of her relationship with Gil. With his wife, ex-wife, somebody he was intimate with? Dana. But she couldn't back out now. You know he helped me with my business loan, she said. Yes, I knew about that. We worked very closely together and he put in a recommendation for me. I think Gil wants us to succeed as much as we do ourselves. Dana knew she was chattering, but now she dreaded completing what she started. Dana, what did you want to talk to me about? Uh-oh. Naturally, Irene would ask her to get to the point. The woman had things to do. Well, like I said, we've worked together closely, and one thing kind of led... Irene, would you be terribly upset if we went out? You mean if you and Gil started dating? Irene asked incredulously. Something like that. No way would she let on that they already had. Irene stood up. Dana, I find it odd that out of all the men in Jacksonville, you can't find anyone to date other than my husband. She turned and left, closing the front door behind herself with more force than required. She said with her husband. So, is Gil okay? Dana had stood too, and she went to the window and watched, stunned. Why you stunned, girl? You ain't get... As Irene rushed to her car at the curb and drove away. It all happened so fast. She hadn't even had time to point out that Gil was Irene's ex-husband. You don't know that, though. Dana feverishly, I know the word, y'all, sorry. Dana feverishly wished she could take back the whole conversation. What had seemed like a good idea in the beginning now seemed like a terrible error in judgment. No, your conscience was telling you something ain't right. Gil would be furious. She dreaded telling him, forget Gil. Gil ain't... Okay. She puttered around for a few minutes, wanting to put off the inevitable as long as possible. When she had summoned her courage, she finally picked up the telephone and dialed him at home. He answered on the first ring with a terse, hello? When she identified herself, he responded with an equally abrupt, I'm on the other line. I'll have to call you back. Dana hung up, dazed. Now, you know Irene called him quick, fast, in a hurry. Girl, Was he upset with her? Or was she merely being overly sensitive? He was upset with you because... She jumped when the phone rang 2 or 3 minutes later. She immediately picked it up and uttered an anxious-sounding greeting. Dana, what were you thinking? Gil asked incredulously without preamble. Irene called you already? So she hadn't imagined his annoyed tone. From her cell phone, reamed me out. This wasn't how I wanted to handle this, Dana. You know I haven't even told Vanessa yet. Now Irene would probably beat me to it. I'm terribly sorry, Gil. It was an impulse, a bad one. But in my defense, let me point out that Irene would have found out eventually anyway. Yes, she would have, and she wouldn't have been happy no matter who I got involved with. I can live with that. It's Vanessa I wanted to protect. I wanted to get her first. Honest gut reaction to us. Not one that's first been poisoned by Irene's venom. But now that won't be possible. Dana didn't know what to say. She knew she'd blown it. What happens now? She asked. I guess we'll have to wait and see. I'll be talking to Vanessa every day while she's at my parents', and I'll see her when she comes back. I don't think Irene will tell her until she returns. Maybe I can meet her plane and head Irene off. Dana hoped so too, for Gil's sake and for Brittany's as well. Dana and Gil left for Savannah right after work on Friday. Oh, okay, so they decided to still, okay. Dana dozed off somewhere after Brunswick, Georgia. When she opened her eyes, they were 30 miles outside of Savannah. I'm so embarrassed, she said, her palms cupping her chin and jaw. I didn't mean to go to sleep like that. It's just that I've been up late the last couple of nights trying to stay on top of my work so I won't come home to a huge backlog. He reached across the console and patted her hand. It's all right, Dana. I know how hard you work and how last minute this all was. I am grateful that you were able to get away. Then he squeezed her hand. And if I had a choice between you being tired now or tired later, I'd rather you be tired now. What he trying to say? He about to wear Dana out. Her breath caught in her throat, and a twirly sensation made its way to her stomach. In just a few hours, she would be intimate with Gil for the first time. No. She'd been so eager before, but now she began to feel nervous. What if Cece had been right and the same thing happened with Gil as had with Sean? Would Gil lose interest in her after they slept together? Would he go after woman in her 20s with a better body like Sean had. When they arrived in the city, Gil checked them into the hotel. Instead of going up to their room, they left their luggage at the front desk, parked in the hotel garage, and set off on foot for a look at the historical district. Dana was glad she hadn't had to look at their hotel room too soon. Her nerves had become as limp as cooked pasta as she considered that perhaps she made a mistake. Spending time with Gil out in the open, simply walking down the street with no huge bed in the background, turned out to be just what she needed to relax. Dana quickly became engrossed in her surroundings. She had never seen the Savannah before. She had never been to Savannah before. She liked the pulse of the city, all the people walking around, the street performers, the music drifting out of the bars. It reminded her of New Orleans, but with different architecture. "I see why you like it here," she remarked. "It's very different from Jacksonville, much more lively." Jacksonville is a great town, but it doesn't have a real personality. It's kind of bland. I like the beach atmosphere and enjoy living there, but I'm ready to purchase property, and I can't afford to buy out there. "So you'll be headed further inland, huh?" "Yeah, probably one of those new houses they're putting up all over town. I've always liked the convenience of having a pool and a fitness center available for my use and not having to mow my own lawn. That's why I bought a townhouse years ago, the one where Vanessa lives now." How considerate of him not to mention Irene, she thought. "I know what you mean," she said. "My pool requires a lot of work. Usually I let Brittany do it, but since she's been away, it's fallen on me. I do keep an exercise bike and a glider in my garage. It used to look like a gym in there before I sold the biggest piece of equipment." She hadn't thought of the weights that ultimately killed Kenny in a long time, and those thoughts had no place during a romantic weekend with Gil. He reached for her hand. "We've been walking for a long time. How about going back to the hotel and getting some dinner? Are you sure you wouldn't rather eat at one of the places we've passed?" "For lunch tomorrow. The package I brought includes breakfast and dinner at the hotel. The food there is excellent, by the way." Dana's spirits sank. "So have you stayed there before with Irene?" "Many times, but that has nothing to do with you and me." He squeezed her hand. "Dana, I guess this is as good as the time any to talk about this. Our room has separate sitting areas with a couch and some very comfortable chairs. I don't want to pressure you into doing something you're not ready for." She smiled. "Somehow, my picture of a romantic weekend in Savannah didn't include you sleeping on a couch." He stopped walking and looked her in the eye. "Are you sure, Dana?" "I'm sure." It was nearly 7 o'clock when they returned to the hotel. By then, Dana felt completely at ease, and the sight of the king-size bed in their room filled her with anticipation, not dread. In addition to the sitting room, their quarters also had a tiny patio barely large enough for 2 chairs and a small table. They could sit outside and watch the street scene below. Gil certainly hadn't skimped on this weekend. She would do all she could to make it memorable. They took turns showering and changing in the privacy of the bedroom, then went down for dinner. Dana thoroughly enjoyed her veal piccata. The atmosphere of the restaurant set a romantic mood with dim overhead lighting, candlelight, flowers, and soft music. Gil lifted his wine glass. "Here's to good food, good drink, and the other pleasures of life," he toasted. Dana knew he was offering her one last out. All she had to do was amend his toast. Instead, she touched her glass to his. "Here's to new beginnings," she said. She sipped her wine, her eyes boldly meeting his, and the corners of her mouth slightly upturned. Suddenly, it didn't matter who Gil had been there with before. This time, it was just the two of them. Gil unlocked the door to their rooms. "That was a great meal," he said, rubbing his belly. What do What do you say we sit and chill for a while, let it digest? Sounds perfect. Right now, Dana was too full to think about romance. They sat on the couch in the sitting room, Dana all too aware of the king-size bed just beyond the double doors a few yards behind them. Gil found an interest, Gil found an interesting movie on cable about a wealthy man whose wife and her lover left him stranded in the desert with a broken leg yet. They quickly became engrossed in the film, and as they watched, they shifted positions. Originally, they sat next to each other, but by the time it started, to look like the unfortunate but resourceful man would survive his ordeal, Dana was reclining between Gil's legs, her back against his chest. His arms went around her waist and rested comfortably before one hand eventually wandered to her breasts, squeezing them through the fabric of her halter dress, then boldly slipping a hand inside. Dana moaned as he rubbed her hardened nipple between two of his fingers. "You feel good," he murmured. She felt his lips on her jaw, then on her throat, and his other hand fumbled with the full skirt of her dress until he found her underwear beneath. Dana gasped with pleasure when he reached inside her already damp panties. She forgot all about the problems of the man on the screen, concentrating instead on her own pleasure. Gil brought her to an orgasm with his fingertips. Hands on her shoulders, he pushed her up. "Let's get in bed. We can be more comfortable." They walked to bed. When they stood before it, Gil reached out and untied the sash of her halter. As the straps fell, exposing her upper body, he smiled gently. "You don't know how badly I ached to do that from the time you came out of the bedroom in that dress. And now you've done it." "Yes," he said, "now I have." With those words, he proceeded to make love to her until her entire body shook with satisfaction and she moaned uncontrollably. And when she regained her strength, she did the same for him. Okay, that's the end of chapter 27. Okay, Dana. Okay, so I feel as though her conscience was kind of eating at her, and that's why she broached the subject up with Irene, or she had unanswered questions that she needed answered because she didn't ask Gil. And I think it's kind of messed up because Dana approached it as if they were friends. Like, you're not friends with Eileen. Like, why would you approach it like that? And why didn't you talk to Gil first? Because he's the one that you don't got the answers from. Now, is Gil and Irene still married? I don't recall them getting a divorce, but I probably wouldn't recall because of the way the book is written. It leaves out a lot of details, so I don't know if they ever got divorced. But yeah, she said ex-husband. Maybe Dana is just thinking that they ex-husband just because she want to get with Gil. And I don't know. They did it. Now, is Gil gonna do what Sean did to her? We shall find out, right? That's all I got. What y'all think? I'm gonna see y'all in the next chapter. Bye.